fixing stuff that's not broken. But wait, there's more. So when you've done this and you've fixed some stuff with your employees and you've got amazing customer experiences and you've optimized the stuff internally, that last one opens up. And this is where you start transforming your products and services. And this is the cool stuff. Okay, so this is where I'm going to try not to tell too many stories, but I'm going to have to. So you take all these insights and you use them to drive new demand, create new service offerings, and create lower cost models. You use that insight to create new marketplaces. You sell those insights. Instead of selling products, you're selling the information about those products, and you can fundamentally change your business model. Okay, let's all just marinate in that for a second. It's so crazy, the stuff that you can do when you have this data at your fingertips. The possibilities are actually endless. And the fun part about this is it's not about figuring out what problem to solve. It's not about solving the problem. Solving the problem, once you figure out what you want to do, is easy. The hard part is figuring out what problem you want to solve, because there's so many. So let's talk about what this looks like a little bit when you transform your product, services, and business models. When you've eased the technology transfer because you've got all this data flowing across your entire organization, you can find new opportunities for revenue and unlock that value creation. You can be more innovative, and you can literally sit back with your self-healing platform and your manufacturing plants and say, what's possible? So you want to talk a little bit about what's possible? Are you excited about these 4 pillars of digital transformation? Yes, Laura, this is so engaging. I can't believe that you are here just for us. It's so beautiful. Thank you for saying that. So let's talk about when you have these 4 systems of intelligence, what you do with it to have an impact on business. You want to talk about that a little bit? Yeah, okay, thank you. So when you put all this stuff together, you can really change your business model. Now I'm going to tell a story on the next slide, so I'm going to try not to ruin it by telling it now. You're embracing ways of bringing people together. Worked with plenty of retailers, often this is one of the retailers that has manufacturing also, and they were trying to figure out how to better load their trucks. And they didn't know how to load a truck better when you've got a product designer who's developing these weirdly shaped lipstick cases that don't pack well in a truck. And they're like, hey, if you just pack it this way, it could be done differently, and many more of them can fit in the truck, and we can save on our warehousing costs. What? Like, those are people who never spoke to each other, and they found each other through digital collaboration technologies. How do you stay ahead then by anticipating what's next? You see it all in the data. You've got your machine learning telling you what the next big trend is. All you need to do is listen to that data. You guys know how to listen to data, right? And we want to build agile platforms that change and adapt. So I'll give you a few examples of companies who are digital businesses. A few of you took an Uber here. Let's talk about Airbnb for a minute. You guys know the story of Airbnb. Guys had some friends coming. They bought 4 air mattresses. They're like, crap, we have these 4 air mattresses. What are we going to do? Let's start a business. Airbnb. So they created an entirely new marketplace. Do they own any assets? Well, now they're thinking about starting to own some assets, but now they have more hotel space, rentable space, than the hospitality industry. And they've been at it for a few years, but all they really have is a little marketplace on an app. That's all they have. We won't talk about their market cap because it's kind of embarrassing. Uber. Hey, taxis are really expensive. And I got an extra seat, and I'm going that way anyway. Maybe I could find some people who want to go with me. You guys done price comparisons between Ubers and taxis? Yeah. So sometimes you get in the taxi because you don't know where the Uber person is going to be able to pick you up at the airport. So you hop in the taxi. This happened to me 2 days ago in Vegas. It was $37 for me to get from McCarran Airport to the MGM Grand. $37. Hey, how much was the ride back in an Uber? $11.33. Whoa, massive disruption in the market. How many of you know about ClearBank? See, I had to put one on there that only a few people would know. Nice, all right. We've got one person who knows ClearBank. So ClearBank is a clearinghouse in the UK. It's the first clearing bank that's been built in 253 years. So they said this whole payment clearing process is kind of a nightmare, and these 16 companies do all of it, and then you're held captive, and it takes days to get all of the reconciliation done. We're not going to do that anymore. We're just going to create a new one, all in the cloud, all on open APIs so that we can share information effectively. and we're just going to create a new one. And they are massively disrupting the entire UK-based payment system with this lovely new little application that just does clearing for them. The banks are running scared. So go check out Clearbanks, it's pretty cool. They're just launching all of their services just a couple months ago. And even on their website it says, and here's where we're going after next. So the banks in the UK are watching going, oh no, what part of my business is getting disrupted next by this little upstart that just put some APIs in an app together and is now taking over my business? What? So, okay, that's great, Laura. Do you like these little bubbles of like what's actually going on in my head? That's great, but those companies were all started in the cloud. So, of course they can do that, right? Is anybody thinking that? That they can do it because it's easy? Thank you for your honesty. All right, we got one person in the back who's still paying attention. Yes, I'll take it. Are there companies that can do this that weren't born in the cloud? Yeah, so these are the ones that fit on the slide. These are companies that we've been working with that are willing to talk about it publicly. You got banks on there, you got retailers on there, you got manufacturing companies on there, you got some utilities on there, you got some government stuff on there. How many of you have gone shopping at Lowe's recently to buy a new kitchen? Put a little HoloLens on and imagined your new kitchen in a way that you then could place your order and walk out of there with no paper, but a fully designed kitchen and a technician who's going to come and do all the final measurement and bring all your stuff to your house. Really interesting way to blur digital and real inside of Lowe's. But I'm going to tell you a little about Rolls-Royce. This is not Rolls-Royce, the car company. They stopped making cars years ago. This is Rolls-Royce, the aircraft engine company. So they invested a lot of money. I won't say how much. Anybody from Rolls-Royce aircraft engines here? Okay, we're safe. So they invested a lot of money in a data warehouse back in 2013. And at the end of it, they had an amazing data warehouse. They're like, wow, I just spent all this money in a data warehouse, but I'm not doing anything with the information in the data warehouse. Can anybody help me with that? So they did an amazing set of time, series, and motion studies on all of the aircraft that were going back and forth, because they wanted to move from that proactive maintenance through predictive maintenance, where they think they know it's going to actually have a problem, to cognitive maintenance, where the machine says, yeah, I'm about to break. And since they are working with the airlines, they know when that plane is going to be in that airport, and they can hot swap a new cylinder while that plane is in the other airport, so there's no disruption of service. So they did all kinds of crazy sensors on the engine themselves, like, oh, this cylinder's running hot, what's going on? Oh, look at that. There was a report of a bird strike that nobody bothered to merge these two databases. We need to make sure that that gets fixed because a hot running cylinder suggests that it's gonna seize, and we don't really want that to happen. So as they did this more and more, the airlines said, hey, what do you got going on over there? That's some pretty cool information that you have. Can I have it? And they're like, well, what's it worth to you? So they started working on new services. So instead of selling aircraft engines, they started selling engine uptime. Whoa, I'm going to say that again because that's pretty freaking cool. They went from selling engines to selling engine uptime. And they share this data with some of their partner airlines, and now all the rest want it too. Because at the end of the day, the customer says, I need me a new engine. But what they're really saying is, I want an engine that's working so there's no disruption in my service. Whoa, think about that. Now, Rolls-Royce talks about themselves as a services company, not a product company. And it was all started by a database that they wanted to get more value out of. So that is a very public case study. You can go read more about Rolls-Royce. They love showing up at Hanover Messe, the big manufacturing event, and talking about it. They bring a big aircraft engine. They show you all the sensors. It's awesome stuff. But now they are a services company that just happens to make aircraft engines. That one blew me away. You guys are like, yeah, what's next? What else you got? Yeah, okay, Lowe's. I'm designing kitchens, and Rolls-Royce is doing... You guys are tough. Okay, well... let's talk about ThyssenKrupp. What does ThyssenKrupp do? Come on, you rode in one today. What do they do with those elevators? They make elevators, that's right. Guys, play along. Jesus. They make elevators. So they have a little problem with market share. Everybody knows who ThyssenKrupp is, But they don't own all the elevators in the world, so they were trying to figure out, how do we disrupt the other elevator manufacturers? So anybody know this story already? Because this is where I told you I'm going to start telling stories. I'm going to get totally off track. Okay, but this is a good one. So they have a market share problem, and they have another problem that their technicians are getting old. Old is awesome, let me tell you. But they were going to start retiring, and they needed a way to have these specialized service technicians retain all of the knowledge. So what did they do? Well, they slapped some sensors on their elevators that said when stuff was going to go wrong, same cognitive maintenance kind of thing. But then they also gave their elevator technicians a HoloLens device. Do you guys know what I'm talking about? There are lots of them out there, like the visor that lets you project stuff in front of you. Yeah. And they said, go and fix this problem. And it started to work really well. And the technicians were able to call their friends back at the home office and be like, I've never seen this problem before, what do I do? Okay, take this piece out, do this piece, make sure you tighten that, because those bolts are a little funky, so make sure you switch, and then safety wire this, and then you're good to go. And so they started selling elevator uptime instead of selling elevators. And then the companies they were working with that had the elevators in their buildings said, hey guys, we have this little problem. Now our ThyssenKrupp elevators are working really well, but we've got other elevators that we unfortunately bought from your competitors. What can you do about that? So what did ThyssenKrupp do? They put their sensors in other people's elevators. But how do you get a service technician who understands all of the other elevator companies? You can't just go steal all the technicians. But you kind of can when you have a group sitting at headquarters who knows all of these different elevator systems. You've got a HoloLens where you're carrying around all the manuals for each different elevator system right in your little bag. And you've got it all right there, and you can call in for help if you need it. So they went from selling elevators to selling elevator uptime. Okay, so now, because I figured at this point you'd be like, we're tired of hearing you talk, Laura. Oh, but I didn't talk about Barilla. You guys know Barilla, the pasta company? Yeah, they make pasta. And so they've been a product company forever, and now they're trying to reimagine themselves as a lifestyle company, because pasta's been berated for a few years now as, you know, glutinous nastiness that everybody's going to die if they eat. Yeah, it might be a slight overstatement. But they're trying to be like, no, look at all the cool stuff we're doing. Pasta's totally healthy. And they did this whole envisioning session where they said, hey, you're jogging. And you're like, hey, I'm done with my jog in the streets of London. And it's not London, sorry. Where am I? I'm in Milan. I'm in Rome, because Barilla's an Italian company. I'm in Rome, and I'm running, and I'm hungry. And ooh, look, there's that digital menu right there that shows me that amazing dish of pasta. I'm going to order it with a 1 p.m. reservation. I'll be back. And then you go home and you shower and you change and you come back and you walk in the restaurant. The little app says, oh my gosh, it's Romeo. He's here in Rome for his pasta. You sit down, the pasta arrives. This stuff is getting real. It's so cool. Okay, sorry. So, no, I'm talking about it, but you don't care about me talking about it. So let's hear what Tetra Pak has to say about it. Tetra Pak, you guys know Tetra Pak? They make milk packaging. So this is their video, not mine.
And changing how we work to create new opportunities by leveraging global data from thousands of lines, connecting our field force with equipment, and bringing our expertise closer to you. Sensors on connected Tetra Pak filling lines continuously send information to the Tetra Pak Performance Management Center. Staff analyze the data and proactively make recommendations to improve productivity and eliminate unscheduled downtime. And thanks to digitalization, the predictive horizon is longer, making it easier to plan maintenance to fit production schedules. Our service engineers are equipped with digital tools to support them in their daily work to deliver better service. Provide easy access to information needed to perform maintenance effectively, including service manuals and checklists, problem-solving methodology, and the global issue database. With remote support, all service engineers are experts wherever they are, whenever it's required, which minimizes extra service calls. Digital tools are not only for service engineers. With virtual training, operators use computer simulation to learn at their own pace, fitting your competence needs and production schedules. Service engineers use mobility apps to track the maintenance completed and to get sign-off before leaving the site. These are just some of the ways we are using cutting-edge digitalization technology to bring you new opportunities through Tetra Pak services while always protecting what's good.
Okay, so Tetra Pak, one of the most boring companies in the world, they make milk container packaging. So if you get any product today, a little orange juice or anything, look on the bottom. I bet it says Tetra Pak on it. These are boring companies that you don't think of as doing innovation, and there they are, setting their own advertising videos about the technology changes that they've made in their plants. And you saw in there all 4 of those pillars. So you saw the engaged employees, empowered employees, where you got the guy who's answering the call, sitting at a desk. You've got the kid out there in the field who's like, oh, I have a service call. I'm just going to get back in my car and drive over there. You saw the customer engagement, where they got to look at what was going on the screen. They could sign immediately. They didn't have to get on the phone. They just knew that someone was coming to fix the problem. You saw the optimization of operations, both inside of Tetra Pak and for their customers. And you saw them end with, look at the services we provide. Now here's a view of their website. So you can, I left the URL in so you can see this is actually Tetra Pak's website. Anybody from Tetra Pak here? Such great. Nobody from Tetra Pak. Anybody from Tetra Pak's competitors here? No, don't answer that. Anyway. So their website is not, look at our amazing production lines and little caps that we can put UHT milk in. Their website is, look at the services we can provide to you aligned to the customer value of boosting their customers' productivity. Wow. And perhaps you thought that only Uber and Clearbank and Airbnb could do this stuff. But old-time, stalwart manufacturers are getting into this. Now, think about that in terms of what you can do in a bank with a digital assistant that has a bot behind it who's answering the customer's questions and pulling in the right product experts based on what the customer needs. Microsoft itself is using a bunch of bots when you call for customer service and your Xbox isn't working. And instead of saying, did you plug it in? Did you turn it on? It can sense whether those things are happening because we've brought that data together through the Xbox Live connection into our customer service centers. And using these bots saved us 12% call volume in the first 3 months that this was operational. Those of you in customer service organizations know that that's like something that you pretend would ever happen when you're talking to the board, but you know is a pipe dream. 12% of calls. See, because if you don't have the right mindset and you think like an old person, you're like, I don't want to talk to a bot. I want to talk to a person. Guess who doesn't like talking to people? Millennials. Yeah, I was visiting a company. Okay, see, I'm doing it again, stories. And I go in and I'm like, hey, everybody, I'm Laura. And they're like, hey, Laura, how are you? I'm like, I'm going to go sit over here. They're like, okay, great. I'm like, hey, anybody know where I should go for dinner tonight? I'm not from here. They're like, yeah. And then I sit there and my IMs start lighting up. Hi, I'm Tim, and I have a great recommendation. You should go to Azagio. They have really good fried Brussels sprouts. I'm like, you're sitting right there. Why aren't you talking to me? Because they don't like to talk to people. They'd rather have a bot, which they think is more efficient and less emotional requirements, that they just want to get the answers. So this stuff is real all over multiple industries. Okay, so to summarize those stories that you just saw, I'm just going to beat this dead horse just a little bit longer. We're talking about enabling new business models. So what you saw was a traditional business model where they're like, we love our products. Our mindset is that we sell amazing products. Our pricing model is we price per product. Our revenue generator is sell more products. And our profit generator is let's lower those maintenance costs. Okay, but in the digital model, now it's services-based. Do they sell amazing products anymore? No, they sell customer uptime. How do you price customer uptime? Are you starting to see the reason why pricing becomes very important in the digital transformation world? Now you've got to figure out a whole new pricing strategy for services when you've done products, for additional services when you've already done services, for taking the information that you have and selling it to others to create new value for them. It's crazy time. The pricing model becomes price per hour of uptime. The revenue generator is selling products and services, but here's the one that makes me so excited for this audience. The profit generator is how to increase uptime. So this fundamentally changes the economics of just about any company, because right now, you create a faster widget, faster machine, better service, better bank account, and what happens? You pass that savings along to the customer. When you are being charged by hour of uptime, when your product innovation gets better, you pocket the difference. Because now they're buying an outcome from you. They're not buying how to get to the outcome. So outcome-based and consumption-based pricing are magic. And the best part is because your company will have all the tools needed to do this because you've got your data in the cloud and you've got your cheap sensors and you've got your stuff. You have the data to make the right decision, and you can be flexible. And you can be like, yeah, we're trying it out. We've got 10 customers who we love, and you're going to work with us on this. We'll give you a discount at the beginning. You work it out. You do your A/B testing on hours of uptime, and now you've got a real pricing strategy that you can continue to flex over time. You guys are not as nearly excited about this as I am. Okay, yeah, that's really exciting, but what does this have to do with me? I don't work for these companies that are on your cute little slide of logos that you got way too excited about. I'm just going to sit back, and I'm going to wait for somebody to come and assign me a project. Anybody in that room feel this way? Okay, good, you didn't answer. That's good. So interestingly, there was a study recently done by our friends at Harvard Business Review who surveyed 436 business leaders. And they said, hey, are you guys ready for this whole digital transformation thing? Less than a quarter of them said, oh yeah, we've got this. We are confident our organizations can do this. And then those same people said that 45% of them actually knew how to do it themselves. I know, it's not funny. It's actually kind of horrifying. And it matches the data about 52% of Fortune 500 companies disappearing. Yeah, okay, so let's go back to that threat versus opportunity for a second. I'm just trying to help with the non-believers in the room. So read a couple of these statements. You know, 1995, I took the names off because this slide actually has names on it, but there's no reason to shame people. There's no way some online database is going to replace my morning paper. What? No serious enterprise is going to put their data in a public cloud. What? iPhone? That won't gain any market share. So if you want to see the future, don't ask any of these people. Who should they ask? Who should they ask, people in this room? No, not me. They should ask you. Oh, that was terrible. They should ask you, because you guys are the ones who are digitally savvy. You know, you know what you're doing, and you're not afraid of data, because data is the new currency of digital transformation. So let's talk about you getting ready for a digital transformation journey, because you have some work to do. Okay, so now we're getting into this is the other 3 hours of the presentation that I'm going to do in 8 minutes and 1 second. Okay, first step, read this book. So this book, I know, wow, really, read a book. Thanks, Laura. But this, I'm going to summarize it for you right now. So this is the book that Satya Nadella, perhaps you've heard about him, says, you know, this is what we're going to do at Microsoft, and we think this is a good way to be. So what this book says is, there's this thing called a fixed mindset. In a fixed mindset, you know everything, you surround yourself with people who totally think like you don't risk anything, because that might lead to failure, and you don't want to look stupid, so you don't try anything until you know you've got it all perfect. And you don't get any feedback. You've been in those meetings, people are like, hey, I want to go over my recommendations with you. And the second time you're like, hey, on slide 3, you might want it. And they're like, zip it! I told you I was here for feedback, but I'm really here to just validate that I talked to you. Yeah, that's the fixed mindset. What you want to have instead is the growth mindset, which says we're going to always be learning and improving. And failure is actually awesome. You just don't want to make the same mistake twice. So you want to embrace these setbacks and make sure that you are continuing to grow and move forward. And you celebrate the risks, large and small. You celebrate the successes. You celebrate the failures. Hey, that totally didn't work. Okay, dust yourself off. We're good. Let's keep going. Okay, we got this. Get feedback, reflect, iterate. This is why diversity is so important. If I hire people just like me, I'm like, hey, I agree with me, and you agree with me. What does that mean? It means that one of us isn't adding any value. So the second part of that book, now you don't have to read it because I just explained it to you, is do you want to be a follower or a disruptor? There's an answer here. So a follower says, how could this big bank disrupt my market and win? What's going to happen with Clearbank and what are they going to do to me? That's what a follower says, and they try to follow along and make sure it happens. But a disruptor says, no, no, no. How could I go disrupt them and win? So are we disruptors or are we fixed? We're disruptors, right? We're pricers, right? So then here's another 4-hour presentation. You want to do some design-led thinking. Design-led thinking is a fancy name for maybe you should think about doing that differently. So here's an example that I'm not going to play for you now. Go and check out this YouTube video. There's this guy, Doug Dietz. He developed MRIs for a living. So he was visiting the hospital one day, really proud of his MRI. He's like, look at those technicians. They love my MRI. I'm so proud. They said, hang on, somebody's coming. And he looks up and sees the patient coming. It's a parents and a little girl who's crying. He's like, I don't want to go in the machine. It's really scary. He's like, oh my gosh, I've been selling to the wrong person. I'm selling to technicians instead of to kids. So he created this whole game where you had to lie real still. And the stiller you lie, the faster the fish are going to fly over you. Or you're in a rocket ship and the stiller you lie, the rocket ship's going to go faster and faster. And then they did crazy stuff like make MRIs look like submarines. When he started, they had to sedate about 80% of the kids under 15 who went into the MRI machine. When they redesigned it from the children's point of view, they don't have to sedate patients anymore.